Hey, this is Joseph Lebrec with ActiveTuts,
Plus.
and I'm going to be showing today how to go about using the open source media framework Strobe Media Playback component to, actually download the source code and reskin it to our custom specifications using Flash Professional, and then recompile this application for our own use through Flash Builder. So if you're unaware, the open source media framework is basically a foundation upon which to build rich media playback mechanisms. So you can play back video, audio, images, SWIFTs, just about anything that you might want to play back within Flash Player as a media source. Strobe Media Playback is a component that is built upon the open source media framework, and it's a basic sort of video player. And you can see here's an example of Strobe right here. It's got the ability to play and pause. It's got a scrub bar, time, volume, and a full screen. So the basic stuff you would normally use. You can see here too that the basic skin for Strobe Media Playback is sort of this white, black, and blue kind of deal going on here. So our intention for sort of recompiling our own Strobe Media Playback component is so that we can, customize it in such a way where we can distribute the SWIFT within our own organization, so that people can just use it and they don't have to fiddle around with, creating skins in Fireworks and mucking around with a skin XML file and all the stuff that you would normally have to do when you embed Strobe Media Playback into an HTML container. So this kind of, we're recompiling it with these assets, so it's all wrapped up together. It's one nice package, very easy to distribute. So what we're going to do is actually go to the Strobe Media Playback page, and there's a bunch of information about Strobe Media Playback here, but we're going to scroll down and we want to download Strobe Media Playback. This will bring us to the SourceForge site where Strobe Media Playback, where the source code actually resides. So you can see here that the latest version is Strobe Media Playback 1.5.1, and while this is the latest release version, you also see here that we have the ability to download Strobe Media Playback 1.6 Sprint 1. And the way they distribute these is that usually each major version has a number of sprint releases before the final release to let people, use it and, give feedback to the team developing Strobe Media Playback. So if you're safe, if you want to feel safe using it right now, you can download the full release. But, if there is a, sort of a beta available, one of these sprints, you can grab that instead. So for instance, Strobe Media Playback 1.6, it takes into consideration the stage video classes in Flash Player 10.2 that's recently become available. And you can also download the documentation here as well. It tells you how to customize it through the skinning process, which is something we're not exactly doing here. We're doing something deeper, which is going in and actually modifying and recompiling the Strobe Media Playback to fit our custom needs. So let's download Strobe Media Playback. I've got Strobe Media Playback already downloaded here. And basically you get a zip file. And let's cancel download. You get this zip file. And the zip file contains a debug build, and then a build for Flash Player 10.0 or Flash Player 10.1. And both of these contain all the code that's necessary to demonstrate and kind of use Strobe Media Playback on your website. Pull this out here, copy it to my desktop for it to run because it's referencing other files. So if we run Strobe Media Playback.html, we can see how this works. So very, very simple, usable interface, something people are used to. And you can, of course, view the page source here and open it in Dreamweaver and do whatever you want with it to kind of get what you're looking for. And the only file you really need to make this work is the Strobe Media Playback itself, which is contained in this Strobe Media Playback.swift. So when we compile our own custom version of Strobe Media Playback, this is sort of exactly what we'll get. We'll get the Strobe Media Playback.swift, which we can then distribute to our users. So something else we want to grab here, we've got the source code. And this source code is the full source for the Strobe Media Playback. And we can go into Player, and if we go into Test, that gives us, the source code for unit testing. So if we were doing heavy customization to this, we'd probably want to set up Flex Unit and do some unit testing within Flash Builder. But in our case, we're just going to look in here, and there is our Flash Builder project all set up for us. So we can grab that and put it on the desktop. There we go. So now that's on the desktop. So let's open up Flash Builder. So in Flash Builder here, I don't really have anything set up yet. What I'm going to want to do is to import the project we just created, and it's a Flash Builder project. We're going to point to a project folder on our desktop, and that project folder is called Strobe Media Playback. So finish, and it'll bring Strobe Media Playback in here as a Flash Builder project. And you can see we've got some OSMF classes here that are specific to the player. And we've also got the main player class itself. So this is the default document to our Flex project. So we're getting some errors here. And the error we're getting is that unable to open OSMF bin OSMF SWIC. So this isn't a big problem. What's happening is it's looking for where this actually existed within the directory that we originally grabbed it from. So inside of that zip folder, it's looking for the OSMF.SWIC. So I'm going to pull that out of our folder right here onto our desktop, and I can put it right into our source folder here. So now it exists within our project. And all I need to do is to go to Properties and go down to my ActionScript build path. And you can see here that we're pointing to a different location. So I just need to edit this and simply point it right there. I'll hit OK. And just ignore that setting. So now it'll go through and build my workspace out. So now all I'm getting is warnings. So these warnings are deprecation errors because I'm using a version of Flash Builder that it's not built for. So we'll just ignore those. I'm going to hit compile. There we go. So now you can see that we just freshly compiled this version of Strobe Media Playback, although it's the same thing you would get if you didn't recompile it, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a look inside of this assets folder here. And within this assets folder in our project, we have an assets.swic. And within this assets.swic are all the different Chrome assets that are used to skin the player. So that's where all those little icons and things like that come from. And the assets.swic is generated from this assets.fla. So if we go into Strobe Media Playback, so this is our project folder, and there's our assets folder, and then we have our assets FLA. So let's open up Flash Professional and drag in that assets FLA file. So you can see here what we have are all these little assets for each little icon that's available to us, and the big play button overlays. If we look in the library, these are all bitmaps with linkage identifiers for ActionScript. So if I go to the properties on one of these, you can see that we are mapping these to specific classes that Strobe Media Playback is going to expect, right? And if we want to change any of these, we can always just pull over a new bitmap. So let's grab a bitmap that we've already created. So I'll just drag that into the stage. And it's basically a custom play overlay that I created. So what we could do is say, all right, so maybe we want to change this overlay right here and swap it out with that one, right? So we could say swap bitmap easily enough, but that's not exactly what we want to do. We want to actually change the properties of this, because swapping a bitmap on the stage isn't going to do anything for this this whole Strobe Media Playback business, because we need to link it through ActionScript with these linkage properties here. So when I click Show in Library, it takes us to that asset in the library, and you can see it's just a bitmap. So let's go into Properties, and I can take this class and copy it, and then untick Export for ActionScript. So now if we look on our library panel, we can see that, all right, sure enough, it's not going to be exported for ActionScript any longer. Let's go down here to this, which is the image that I just pulled in. We can go to Properties and tell it export for ActionScript. Yes, please. For a class, we want to paste in that same class that's expected by Strobe Media Playback and hit OK. Now what's going to happen is if we create a SWIC of this, it'll actually bundle this in place of this. So let's save this, and I'm going to go in and check my publish settings. So let's see what we have here. We have selected Flash, and we also have ticked this Export SWIC. Export SWIC is going to compile this into a SWIC for us that we can use within Flash Builder. So let's hit Publish. Okay, awesome. So you can see here in my assets that 9:46 p.m., that's right now. I just compiled this. It's all ready for us. So going back into Flash Builder, I can hit my compiler here and look at that. So when I hover, obviously I didn't change the hover skin, but there's my play skin right there. And if I click on it, sure enough, it works. So what else can we do with the skinning through this assets.fla file? Well, if we wanted to, we could have a graphic designer go through either using Photoshop or Fireworks and, create each one of these little images for us that we could use as a bitmap, right? What we could also do is, since this is Flash-based and since we're using a linkage ID, we don't have to just use a bitmap for any of this stuff. For instance, you can see here we've got some symbols for different things like buffering overlay, scrubbers, and video info overlay, and so forth. So these are movie clip symbols, and we can create our own stuff through here, right? So if we wanted to go through and perhaps create, and this is going to be really rough, I'm just going to do it with a paintbrush. But if I go through and select a color and a brush size, and maybe I just want my play button to look like this, right? And maybe I can write here, play. It looks enough like play, right? All right, so right now these are just shapes. So I'll select it all and hit F8. And I'll just call this play asset and hit OK. Then I'm going to go in here and let's create a Tweetable movie clip So play movie clip. So really this is just a movie clip within a movie clip so that I can tween it on the stage. So we'll go down to about 30 frames and hit F5 to extend those frames. Right click and create motion tween. So now I can go to say frame 15, click on this movie clip instance, go to properties, and for color effect, let's change the alpha. And we'll just take the alpha down. It's like 50%. And then we'll go up to frame 30. And on frame 30, we're going to push the alpha back up to 100%. So to preview that, our play is going to fade in and out, right? So now what do we need to do? Well, we need to go back out into our library, and we've got this play asset right here. So play button overlay, we're going to want to modify the properties once again to remove this class identifier and not export it for ActionScript. So we can remove actually all this stuff at this point. So properties, export for ActionScript, and right there. There we go. There's our linkage identifier for that asset. And something else I could do for hover, and this is play. So play overlaid over. Let's copy this class. Do not export for ActionScript. And what we'll do is we'll duplicate this play asset movie clip. So right click, duplicate, and we'll call it play asset hover. Okay. And then we'll go into its properties, export for ActionScript, and for a class name, paste in that class name for the hover attribute. And what we'll do is, let's say on the hover, maybe we want to actually, add a filter to this thing. So perhaps a glow filter. And I know that the colors I'm using here are absolutely hideous, but for the sake of demonstration. All right, there we go. So they both sort of function the exact same way, except when you hover, it's going to have a little bit of a glow to it. So let's go in and once again publish, and this will publish out to our SWIC. So if we look back in here, there's our SWIC, 9:53 p.m., which is right now. Go back into Flash Builder and hit to compile. All right, so there's our little guy there, and if I hover, I'm not sure how well this is coming across, but we do have a little bit of a glow effect to that. And if we hit play, it actually plays. So, we did customization on the hover overlay right here. You could customize, as I mentioned, any of these assets down here, and even the Chrome itself. You can use your own poster image on here, but that's going to take a little more input in the HTML itself, along with your source, and that's all in the documentation. But for really customizing Strobe Media Playback for use, for distribution to people within your network, within your organization, with full custom Chrome, this is really the best way to do it, is to go into that assets.fla, change up all your different icons and so forth. And remember, all the linkage identifiers are right here, already mapped. So you just need to find substitutes for them. and switch them out. And then when you recompile the SWIC, all you need to do is then go into Flash Builder and recompile Strobe Media Playback. And once you do, you will have your own custom Strobe Media Playback component. So let's compile this, export, release, build, and finish. And now when we go into Strobe Media Playback, we've got our bin release. And it's got, all these same files from our HTML template that's in that project. And here's Strobe Media Playback.swif. It was compiled at 9:55, which is right now. And if we run this HTML, we can see that sure enough, our SWIF is exactly as expected.